Men offend those they love before those they fear. This phrase, of brutal and chilling honesty, was written over 500 years ago by a man who dared to gaze unflinchingly at the nature of power, a man whose name has become synonymous with cunning, deception, and cold strategy, Niccolò Machiavelli. And this phrase, as uncomfortable as it is true, opens the door to a dark basement of human psychology, a place most prefer to ignore, but where the true dynamics of power that govern our world are forged. Welcome to your inner mirror. Today, we embark on a journey not for the faint of heart. We're not going to talk about how to be a good man, but about how to survive and thrive in a world that doesn't always reward goodness. Today, we'll unravel Machiavelli's thought and his techniques, often called dark, for manipulating people. I know the word manipulate triggers immediate rejection. Associate it with malice, with a lack of scruples, and to a large extent, we're right. But on this channel, our goal isn't moral judgment, it's deep understanding. We're not studying Machiavelli to become villains, but to do something far more important, to learn to recognize the villains we'll encounter along the way, because ignorance, gentlemen, is not armor that protects us, it's a target that makes us easy prey. Living in a world believing everyone operates from sincerity and good intentions is like walking through a jungle thinking all animals are herbivores. Sooner or later, you'll meet a predator, and if you don't know their tactics, if you don't understand their hunting methods, you'll be devoured. Machiavelli wasn't a master of evil. He was a political scientist, a doctor who had the courage to perform an autopsy on the body of power without anesthesia, describing with ruthless precision what he found inside, a web of ambition, fear, and self-interest. Today, we'll take his scalpel and analyze these techniques, not to wield them with malice, but to vaccinate ourselves against them, to develop a clarity that allows us to navigate the complex chessboard of human relationships, whether in the office, in business, or even in personal life, not as a pawn, but as a conscious player. Dark technique number 1, the economy of fear and love. The first, and perhaps most famous, of Machiavelli's lessons is his answer to the eternal question. Is it better for a leader to be loved or feared? His response is blunt. It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose between the two. This idea clashes head-on with everything we've been taught. We want to be loved leaders, loved parents, loved friends. Love seems the most solid foundation. Machiavelli, like a risk analyst, tells us that love is an incredibly volatile asset. It relies on gratitude and favors. As he writes, men, being wicked, break the bond of love whenever it benefits them. Love is emotional, inconsistent. Fear, on the other hand, is rooted in something far more primal and reliable, the instinct for self-preservation. The fear of punishment, of negative consequences, is a far more consistent driver of behavior. From a neuroscientific perspective, we understand this perfectly today. Love and gratitude are complex functions of our prefrontal cortex, the most evolved but also the slowest part of our brain. Fear, however, is processed by the amygdala, our reptilian brain, a primitive, lightning-fast structure that can hijack all others. In a conflict, fear will always trump gratitude. Now, and this is crucial to avoid misinterpretation, Machiavelli makes a fundamental distinction between being feared and being hated. Hatred arises from injustice, from capricious cruelty, from taking what belongs to others. And hatred, he warns, is the fuel of conspiracies and rebellions. A hated leader is building his own guillotine. Being feared in Machiavellian sense is something entirely different. It's being respected. It's ensuring others are acutely aware of your strength, your determination, and the predictable consequences of crossing your boundaries. It's the reputation of a man who keeps his word, both to reward loyalty and to punish betrayal. How does this dark technique apply in real life? Consider the workplace. The boss who only seeks to be a friend to his employees, who avoids tough conversations and never holds anyone accountable for fear of being disliked, may be loved but isn't respected. His team becomes mediocre, undisciplined, and at the first opportunity, they'll lose respect for him. In contrast, the leader who is demanding but fair, who sets high standards and doesn't shy away from tough decisions, may not be the most popular, but he'll be feared in the sense of respected. His teams will be more efficient and paradoxically more loyal in the long run because people admire strength and consistency. The lesson for our self-defense is to learn to read this dynamic. When you encounter a person, a boss, a partner, a supposed friend, who is excessively kind, constantly flattering you, ask yourself, is this person offering genuine love, or are they disarming me with affection to lower my guard? Conversely, learn to build your own reputation not on the need to be liked, but on a foundation of integrity and firmness that inspires deep respect. Dark technique number 2. The mastery of the mask, the power of appearance. The second dark technique follows from the first. If human nature is superficial and judges by appearances, then the wise man must become a master of appearances. Machiavelli puts it bluntly, it is not necessary for a prince to possess all the good qualities, but it is very necessary to appear to possess them. He adds, men in general judge more by their eyes than by their hands, for seeing is available to all, but touching to few. The crowd is always swayed by appearances. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths about social life. We don't live in a world of realities, but in a world of perceptions. The person who controls the perception others have of them controls the reality of that interaction. The Machiavellian manipulator understands this perfectly. They don't exhaust themselves trying to be genuinely good, pious, or generous at all times. That's exhausting and inefficient. Instead, they invest their energy in appearing to be so. They perform public acts of generosity to build a reputation. They use language filled with morality and virtue in their speeches. They project an image of calm and confidence, even if they're riddled with doubts or selfish intentions. They become a consummate actor in the great theater of the world. How do we see this today? Everywhere. It's the politician who kisses babies during a campaign while passing laws that harm their families. It's the celebrity who promotes charitable causes in front of cameras to clean their image. It's the coworker who always has a kind word for the boss in public while criticizing everyone behind their backs. It's the essence of personal branding on social media, where people don't share their real lives, but a carefully curated and embellished version of them. The lesson for our self-defense isn't to become cynics who distrust everything. It's to develop a healthy dose of skepticism. Learn to distinguish between the image a person projects and their consistent, concrete actions over time. Don't trust grandiose words. Focus on small deeds. Don't be seduced by public reputation. Observe how they treat those who have no power. And for our own lives, the lesson isn't to become hypocrites, but to understand the importance of managing our own image, not to deceive, but to effectively communicate our value. Ensure your appearance, your speech, your body language align with the image of a strong, competent man you want to project. Because, like it or not, the world will judge you first by the cover of your book. Make sure it's one that invites people to read the content. Dark technique number 3, the lion and the fox, the duality of effective power for Machiavelli. Power isn't a monolithic quality. It requires duality, the ability to adapt to circumstances and employ different strategies depending on situation. To illustrate this, he offers his famous metaphor, a prince must learn to be both a lion and a fox. He writes, since a prince must know how to use the beast well, he should choose among them the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot protect himself from wolves. Therefore, one must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten the wolves. This is a masterful lesson in psychological strategy. The man who is only a lion is pure brute force, pure confrontation, pure direct honesty. He's strong, yes, but predictable. He doesn't see traps, doesn't understand the subtleties of human psychology, and can't read hidden intentions. He's the boss who yells, the father who imposes through force. He may win some battles through sheer intimidation, but in the long run, the more cunning, the foxes, will set a trap he'll inevitably fall into. Other hand, the man who is only a fox is pure cunning, pure strategy, pure deception. He's a master of manipulation, knows how to read people, how to set traps, but he lacks strength, the ability for direct confrontation. Once his cunning is exposed, he inspires contempt. No one trusts him, no one respects him as a leader. He's the conspirator in the shadows who always takes the indirect route, and when faced with a direct threat, the wolves, he'll be devoured because he lacks the strength to fight. The true master of power, the effective manipulator, is the one who has integrated both natures. He's a hybrid. He knows when to roar like a lion, when to set a firm boundary, when to confront a threat directly, when to demonstrate his strength so no one doubts it. But he also knows when to be cunning like a fox, when to stay silent and observe, when to use diplomacy instead of force, when to subtly plant an idea, or when to let his enemies destroy each other. How do we defend against this? By learning to recognize which animal we're dealing with. Are you facing a lion? Don't try to beat them in a direct confrontation of strength. Use cunning. Find their blind spots. Are you facing a fox? Don't trust their words. Don't fall into their logical traps. Be direct. Confront them with the truth. Demonstrate your strength. And most importantly, cultivate that duality in yourself. Be a man of firm principles and unshakable strength. A lion. But don't be naive. Develop your emotional intelligence, your observation skills, your cunning to navigate a world that isn't always straightforward or honest. A fox. Dark technique number 4. Divide and conquer. The art of breaking alliances. This is one of the oldest and most effective tactics of power, perfected by Roman emperors and described coldly by Machiavelli. If you face a united group that threatens your power, don't attack it head on, divide it. Sow discord, envy, and distrust among its members, and then, when they're weakened and fighting among themselves, you can defeat them one by one with ease. The Machiavellian manipulator is a master of this art. We see it constantly in office politics. The boss who, to maintain control, pits team members against each other, giving them contradictory information, praising one behind another's back, creating small fiefdoms and rivalries. This ensures their subordinates never form a united front against them and positions the boss as the only indispensable mediator, the sole source of truth. We see it in social circles. The person who acts as the group's center and subtly criticizes one friend in confidence to another, ensuring trust between them erodes. We even see it in families, where one member may manipulate others by creating alliances and sowing discord for emotional or material gain. This technique works because it exploits some of humanity's baser emotions: envy, suspicion, tribalism. The manipulator doesn't create these emotions from nothing. They identify and fan them like blowing on embers to spark a fire. The antidote: loyalty and direct communication. When you realize someone is trying to pit you against an ally, a friend, or a colleague, don't fall into the trap. Don't believe the rumor. Don't engage in gossip. Go straight to the person involved and lay your cards on the table with honesty. I was told this about you. I don't believe it, and I want to hear it from you. This act of direct communication and loyalty to your alliances is kryptonite to the manipulator who seeks to divide, forging bonds of trust that are nearly unbreakable. Dark technique number 5. Well-administered cruelty and benefits in small doses. We come to one of Machiavelli's sharpest and darkest psychological observations. His advice on how to administer pain and pleasure to maximize power. He writes, "Injuries should be done all at once, so that, being tasted less, they offend less, while benefits should be given little by little, so that they are savored more." This is a masterclass in behavioral psychology. Machiavelli understood 500 years before behavioral psychologists that humans adapt quickly to both pain and reward. If you must take an unpopular measure, an injury, like mass layoffs in a company, a budget cut, or a tough family decision, don't do it in stages. If you do it gradually, you keep people in a constant state of anxiety and resentment. Each new cut is a fresh wound. Instead, if you deliver all the pain at once, swiftly and decisively, the blow is hard, but people are forced to accept the new reality and begin to adapt. Acute pain is forgotten faster than chronic pain. Conversely, rewards should never be given all at once. They must be administered little by little, in small doses. If you give someone everything they want at once, their gratitude will be intense but fleeting. They'll quickly take their new situation for granted and start demanding more. But if you provide benefits intermittently in small doses, you keep the person in a state of constant hope and loyalty. Each small benefit is a new dopamine hit, a reminder that you are the source of their well-being. It's the exact mechanism of a slot machine that keeps us hooked with sporadic small wins. The manipulator uses this to create dependency. They'll give you a compliment today, a small favor tomorrow, a helping hand next week, and before you know it, you're in a state of constant gratitude and psychological debt, making you more compliant to their will. The defense against this is self-sufficiency. When you don't need another person's benefits for your well-being, when your source of validation, security, and happiness is internal, their trickle of rewards loses all power over you. You appreciate the gesture, but you don't become dependent on it. Conclusion: building inner sovereignty. We've explored Machiavelli's dark arsenal. We've seen how manipulation operates through fear, the management of appearances, strategic duality, division, and the calculated administration of pain and pleasure. Now, the question is, how do we live in a world where these techniques are used daily without becoming paranoid or monsters ourselves? The answer, the final antidote that integrates all others, is the construction of inner sovereignty, the path of the upright man. Lucidity is your shield. The first step to avoid being manipulated is understanding that manipulation exists and knowing its forms. The knowledge we've explored today is your first line of defense. It allows you to recognize patterns, to see the game behind the game. Integrity is your armor. A man with clear principles and consistent actions is an incredibly difficult target for a manipulator. They can't bribe you with benefits if your loyalty lies with your values, not your convenience. They can't divide you from your allies if your relationships are built on trust and mutual respect. They can't damage your reputation with lies if your actions speak for themselves. Self-sufficiency is your impregnable fortress. The manipulator's power lies in exploiting others' needs and fears. The need for approval, the fear of loneliness, the desire for security. The man who has cultivated an inner stoic citadel, who needs nothing fundamental from others because he has found his center, his purpose, and his peace within, is immune to manipulation. It's like trying to blackmail a monk with money. Their tactics simply find no foothold in you. We've looked straight into the abyss of human nature, guided by its coldest observer, and we've returned, I hope, not with a desire to become the monsters we've described, but with the wisdom to recognize them and avoid becoming their victims. Machiavelli's legacy isn't an invitation to tyranny. It's a warning against naivety. It's a reminder that on the great chessboard of life, a good heart isn't enough. You also need a sharp mind. This knowledge isn't a burden that should make us cynical. It's a tool for liberation. It frees us from confusion, from the feeling of being a puppet moved by strings we don't understand. It restores our agency, the power to consciously choose our actions and alliances, because you can't change the nature of wolves, but you can stop being a sheep. You can become a wise shepherd, the shepherd of your own life. Now, this mirror is yours. I invite you to share your own experiences in the comments. Have you recognized any of these Machiavellian techniques in your professional or personal life? What lesson did the hard experience of realizing you were being manipulated teach you? Your story could be the warning another man needs to wake up. And to show you've completed this dive into the shadows of power, I ask you to write the word lucidity in your comment. It will be our symbol of the commitment to see the world with eyes wide open, no matter how uncomfortable the truth may be. If this reflection has provided value and armed you with a new perspective, the best way to support your inner mirror is by subscribing to the channel, liking, and sharing this video. Help us bring this essential education to more men. Remember, on the great chessboard of life, the man who knows the enemy's strategy isn't the one who fears. He's the one who's prepared. Until next time, may your mind be your greatest fortress.